Welcome back. The political discourse continues. Let's bring in our guest, the former chairman of IFAC, Mr. Yabagi Sani, joining us virtually. Mr. Sani, thank you so much for coming on the program, sir.
Thank you, Jeff, for having me. Good morning.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Today is your birthday, right?
Yeah, you are correct. Thank you very much.
Happy birthday to you. How does it feel? 68, right?
I appreciate it, yes. Thank you very much.
Okay, so you're on your way to 70. Maybe I want to start differently. I wanted to start another way, but let me start this way now that I'm confirmed it's your birthday. So you've seen Nigeria for almost 70 years, and you've seen this democracy at its peaks and low points. What do you make of where we are as a country?
Well, I like to believe that it's a cup that is half full, not half empty, in the sense that democracy is still alive and kicking, in spite of all the challenges. And that is the beauty of democracy. You know, it can accommodate, most desired things. And as a people, when that determination is there, we get to make it work, for the people. So I think as a country, we have succeeded in ensuring that democracy, for 26 years now, we've been practicing this democracy, from 1999 to date. And in spite of all the hiccups, here we are still, very hopeful and strong as a nation. Like I said, in spite of all the shortcomings. So we give kudos to Nigerians, for bearing, with us, the politicians, and having hope. So we have to keep the flag flying and ensure that generations yet unborn will come to benefit from our sojourn and the amendments, corrections, and whatever that we need to make. So it's good that nothing has happened. We're allowed to make our mistakes. And of course, like I said, we will also continue to make amends. America has spent over so many 500 years or so, and on this process, and it's still not perfect. So, which means whatever is happening in Nigeria, as far as democracy is concerned, it's not abnormal. But there are things that we must take steps and as quickly as possible, and then correct those things that we have discovered that are not in the interest of democracy. I'm talking about deepening the roots of democracy. And these are things that we'll be talking about. We'll be talking about amendments to the Electoral Act. We'll be talking about how we should ensure that there's no state capture in the manner we're having it today, especially. So these are things that must, be corrected, and so that we can have transparency, we can have INEC independence, we can have Electoral Offenses Commission, to be active, working. So these are things that I believe we need to, as a nation or as a country, focus our attention on. It's not that you won't have some of these, hiccups, because we are human beings after all. So, but the ability to remain intact, as a democratic nation is a big achievement, not only for our president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but even Nigerians, in particular, because they have been putting up with so much that I know in some other countries, something will have given long ago. But here we are, very resilient and very hopeful, very dynamic people that they believe so much in themselves and in this country. So kudos to Nigerians.
Mr. Sandy, so I want to find out from you what you make of this worry over one-party states. Now, actively, it's not one party, because right now we have about 4 parties in power. I mean, if we consider the governors, we have maybe APC, PDP, we have ABGA, we have the Labour Party, NNPP. I think that's about 5 of them. But
no, you have Jeff. You have also ADP. We have a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and that is a very big.
No, I'm talking about. I'm using governors now as my pointers. I'm using governors for my analytics. I know there are more. We have almost about 19 political parties actively. Yes, I'm using governors for example, and where they hold sway. Where I'm going to with all of that, because there was a time the PDP had about almost, I think, 30 or so states they were controlling. in Nigeria out of the 36 states. And now the APC is racking up that number. In fact, in the National Assembly, they are borderline approaching to third majority in both chambers of the bicameral chambers of the National Assembly. So in principle, it's not necessarily that it's one party, but the dominance of one party in terms of being able to drive an agenda with little or no resistance. Is that a concern to you?
Oh, it's of major concern to every Democrats and Nigerians, in general. The reasons are that if we do not allow democracy to be practiced as intended by the Constitution, and which means that is government of people, by the people, for the people, then we are really taking what we have for granted. And care is not taken. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong if you don't do the right things. So I believe we are concerned because, like you mentioned, and I've always said, we cannot pile up all the blames on Bola Ahmed Tinubu, our current president. It is us, Nigerians, as a country, that created a situation where you have a Democrat like Bola Ahmed Tinubu behaving like an emperor because we did not do, we have failed to do what we need to. This is a constitutional democracy. So if your laws are not obeyed or your laws are not, in sync with what democracy says, then, of course, what do you get? What you get is what you are having today, something that is not democratic at all. So it's not Bola Ahmed Tinubu alone. Buhari, the same thing happened. PDP, like you said, the same thing happened. So we need to look inwards. We need to look at our laws, or how do we enforce these laws? For instance, of recent, which is also another evidence of a blatant state capture, in Nigeria. So that what I mean is that one person has managed to hijack and control all the institutions that are supposed to further or supposed to help deepen democracy and, in fact, govern democracy, as the case is. What am I saying? You have INEC, you have the police, you have all the security agencies, you have every big, important person in this country. They are all at the beck and call of one individual, which is Mr. President. And this person, in most cases, if not in all cases, is a participant in the election. And he appoints everybody that will supervise this election. So which magic do you want to play to expect a free, fair, and credible election? So this is where we are getting it wrong. It isn't that people who you see moving into APC are moving because they believe in APC or believe in Mr. President himself. It's because they have no choice. Because you could even be removed, even after you have been elected. They can trump up some charges against you, and there's no law to protect you. So this is the case. Look at Rivers. What is happening in Rivers? Mr. President just woke up one day and said, I don't like the face of this individual. Let him go. And what did they do? They went and started bombing pipelines and what have you in this area and said that that is his fault, as if he's the chief security, as the chief security officer, if he has been given the powers to mobilize the police or the army or what have you to check such excesses in his domain. So this is the kind of democracy we have. It's a caricature of what we are supposed to have. And the National Assembly, who are supposed to really give this country the model that we're supposed to have. Nigeria is supposed to be a model to the continent of Africa, and if you like, to the global community as far as democracy is concerned. But look at where we are, caricature of what democracy is supposed to be, because we do not have laws. Where we have one, we do not enforce them. Look at what happened just last 2 weeks ago. I attended the ceremony because of the foundation laying of INEC new headquarters. And because I was invited by the the chairman of INEC, who is the regulator, who is our regulatory agency. So I honored the invitation, and only for me to listen to Mr. President saying that they want to build this headquarters, they must finish it before 2027 elections. And I started wondering, what is the haste for? Then you ask yourself, does Mr. President even have the right by the constitution of this country to build a headquarters, for INEC, such a sensitive, agency that the constitution of this country has made provisions for its autonomy and its independence. Apart, the section, I think section 1, 158(1) of the Constitution of this country emphasized the autonomy of INEC, that no agency, no political control organization, no president, no federal government will interfere with the activities of INEC. So here you are today, Mr. President telling us that they are building this headquarters, for INEC, and they will finish it before 2027. Some of us started getting worried. Why were we worried? I know you remember what happened in America in 1972 when Richard Nixon, the then president, went and boggled the office of Democratic Party, the opposition party, and installed listening devices in their offices. And that led to the resignation of Nixon in 1974. So, and again, there's another instance where people can install devices and then be corrupt and then compromise whatever you are doing. African Union, in 2012, it was, when African Union wanted to build the headquarters in Addis Ababa, China stepped forward, say, we want to do it for you, as a way of deepening the relationship between China and Africa. And of course, African leaders say, okay, fine, because it's about $600 something million, so somebody comes say it's going to do it. So they allowed them to do it. But what happened? In 2017 rather, 5 years later, they now discovered that the computers installed in that building and the building itself was bugged. Meetings, conferences, and what have you by African leaders was being reported to Shanghai.
Interesting.
So we didn't have any
interesting,
secrets.
Engineer Sani. Interesting perspectives that you're sharing, particularly from Jeffrey's last question. But we may have a bigger problem on our hands. This is because after every electioneering cycle, it appears to be a situation of to your tent or Israel for all political parties in the opposition. After the elections have been fought and won, you're bringing to fore these very germane talking points about the dangers of a one-party state. But where is the opposition for engagement, to put the feet of the ruling party to fire on these issues that you're raising? Where is your own political party? Where is the PDP? Where is the Labour Party? They're all embroiled in crisis. So that speaks to the lack of deep opposition, bold opposition to challenge the policies and indeed the conduct of the ruling party. Where is your party, if I might start by asking?
No, we're here. We are here, Bukola, we are here. In fact, on this issue I'm talking about, we are even ready to go to court with Mr. President because it's not even in his own interest. I mean, Section 80 of the Constitution provides, or 81 rather, provides for INEC to get its money directly from National Assembly. It says that because it says that INEC budget will come directly from the consolidated revenue, which means, and consolidated revenue is only National Assembly that can approve withdrawal from that revenue. So if INEC is getting its funds from consolidated revenue, how can the federal government now come and take that money and say they're building facilities for INEC? Or is it a Greek gift that they want to build and then bug the office so that elections will not be fair and free? So the point we are making is that we are here when we're challenging this government for their own sake too, because I don't want a situation where tomorrow somebody will wake up and then maybe discover certain things and it will lead to resignation of Mr. President. We don't want that to happen in our climate. So oppositions are up, really very strongly fighting for this democracy. But you must understand one thing, like I said, we are not operating in a normal situation. You have laws that have been hijacked. The judiciary has been hijacked. The INEC has been hijacked. The police has been hijacked. They are all appointed by one person or nominated by one person. And then when it goes to National Assembly, who today, for so far, there is so much, romance with the federal, with the executive. And this does not augur well for democracy. So the issue of state capture is so endemic, is so blatant, is so with impunity. Mr. President can do whatever he likes, and nobody can challenge him. That is not democracy, for God's sake. And that's why we are talking, we are speaking out now, and that's why we say we go to court, on this protection of INEC, which is the most important institution. Bukola, like governance depends on the credibility of the elections that you are able to conduct. And who is going to supervise these elections? It is the INEC. So if we really want to get anything to work for us, whether on the political front or in the economic front, or social front, or internationally, we must look at how do we conduct our elections. How transparent are they? How independent, impartial INEC is? And which laws do we have to punish those who may run foul of the law? So these are things that we have been overlooking. In National Assembly, I'm sure they are more informed. They know what I'm talking about. Why should they look the other way when they see that somebody is brazenly, abusing the constitution of this country, because he has been given our allegiance and our resources, and then when their own operational, border is defined in the constitution. So, Bukola, this is the most fundamental issue, because this gave power and force to state capture, which we are talking about. And when you talk about crisis in other political parties, most of these crises are induced. Look at the kind of role Yosim Weke is playing in PDP. I mean, it's so it's so laughable that somebody who claims to be a member of one party is in another party and promoting, anti-party, in such a scale that it should not be condoned by anybody. But what do you think the opposition can do? You remove him, he will go to court. They have the court. You say you can't remove me. So what do you do? So it's us Nigerians that should now step up to the plate, put pressure on our National Assembly, let them do the right thing for this country, for themselves, and for the future.
So understanding that,
is not,
right?
You can see the amount of crisis that PDP has been going through, and I give kudos to them because they have been able to withstand, all the onslaught. I mean, all the antics of the government, to destabilize them completely and destabilize other political parties.
Right.
But that is not in the interest of even Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president of this country today. That would not go as a good legacy for him.
All right.
So these are the things we are talking about.
Seeing that we're in an extra... Right, if you can hear me, Engineer Sani, just want to quickly put this in. Seeing that we're in an extraordinary situation, as you put it, why then are you not being a part of the coalition? Because they say that extraordinary times require extraordinary measures. So you've had Peter Obi speaking about the coalition, even talking about, his interest to run, saying if the coalition says he should do one term, he will do one term, and you can't take away the support that he has. You've had others as well speaking about the coalition, Atiku Abubakar, a lot of things in the works right now. So why are you choosing to stay away from the coalition? Is there another solution that you think is more viable than the coalition?
Yeah, you see, when you look at the environment under which the coalition is working, it does not in any way give credence, to the whole initiative. And I'll tell you why. You see, whether we like it or not, this country, we boxed ourselves into a corner where primordial sentiments have become the order of the day. Yes, Mr. Peter Obi can agree to say, I'm going to do one term. But then the Northerners will tell you that, well, we're supposed to have, the Southerners, the Northerners will tell you that we're supposed to have, after Bola Ahmed Tinubu's next, term, if he gets the election, it should come to the North. But again, against the background where we are operating, look at the laws. We are human beings. Human beings, absolute power corrupt absolutely. Peter Obi is not a saint. He's not somebody that is from another planet. We have seen successive governments, successive presidents trying to see how they can turn the constitution around and give themselves extra, like third term and things like that. Which one didn't try? I ask you. It's hard. So this is why it will be difficult for a lot of people to believe, Mr. Peter Obi, that after the second time, he will get it. And then how will it even succeed? If you look at, like I said, the sentimental aspect of it, the state capture, which I'm talking about, because if you have power of incumbency, it's not Peter Obi at that point in time That at that point in time is a Frankenstein monster. That's what we have in Bola Ahmed Tinubu today, because we made it so. Otherwise, you cannot expect a Democrat like Bola Ahmed Tinubu to behave in the manner he's behaving. So this is why we are saying that it is the laws. Okay. It's not the individual. Forget about the individual. Once you become a president or something like that, that's a different ball game. It's a different human being you are looking at. I mean, he doesn't behave normal. In that circumstance, especially when it comes to power. So, yes, they can sell the idea of Peter Obi doing one term, what have you, but how many people will really believe in that? That's the issue you must ask yourself. And how are we sure that you will end up with this coalition thing that you are talking about, with another about 2 presidents or something like that? As Atiku said, he's not going to run again. When you have all the things going on, all the
Engineer Yabagi.
A situation where you'll end up with Peter Obi being on the ballot, say he must be on the ballot. I think we're saying so also that he wants to be on the ballot. So the issue is that if the coalition people can agree on one ticket, and I don't know how viable that ticket is even going to be against the background of the sentiment.
That's a question that's actually the question we will continue to put across to everybody who is in the coalition, because it's still a building. In the building process, a party has been formed, interim leadership has been made, so it's an ongoing conversation. Apparently, Engineer Yabagi Sani is a former presidential candidate and also former chairman of IPAC. Thank you, sir, and happy birthday yet again. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Away from the conversations, guys, let's find out what the people are saying on the pages of social media.
I think one of the biggest stories that came out, still making the rounds, and this is something that began months ago, is Senator Natasha Akpoti-Oduah appearing in court yet again. This time she's been granted bail based on self-recognizance. Recall that the federal government arraigned her at the Federal High Court, Abuja. She had also appeared at the FCT High Court as well. There you see her yet again in court with her husband. 6 counts bordering on alleged cybercrime against Senate President Godswill Akpabio, former governor of Kogi State, Yaya Bello, and of course on that claim that they're plotting her assassination, which she spoke to on live television. So there you see, she's been granted bail at the court, and the case will come up for hearing in a couple of months. Of course, she had all our supporters joining her in court. September the 22nd, I should say, that's when the case has been adjourned to.
And so we understand that there are many cases now. There's one for defamation, and this is borders on allegations of going against the Cybercrime Act. So we'll see how all that plays out.
All right, let's get to which one do we get to now? There was small for choice. I think let's get to this issue around Nigerians reacting to a post by the EFCC. The EFCC had posted about, just a funny, I wish you can put up that, we should call that, I don't know what that animal is, where they posted more like looking at if you are trying to spray. Yes, that's the picture. Nigerians, so this is from the EFCC's page. Nigerians spraying is part of our culture. We must spray money. Then, it's a milk calf now.
A meerkat.
And then that's like the EFCC is watching by the corner and just watching. Okay, it's part of your culture. Let's see how you spray it. So Nigerians started mocking the anti-graft agency. So, okay, this is selective justice. When other people are spraying, you get them arrested, like Bobrisky. Other people like Chief Priest, maybe they get settled out of cost. But when it came to Tompolo, all of a sudden the EFCC started speaking big grammar. So they started mocking the EFCC, more like saying, it has to be fair to all. You were the ones that say you go after Tompolo and invite him. How far has that gone? And the Okoye's children as well, who we understand they've also, no, we don't know whether they've been invited or not, but people are just saying generally, like, if this law is to be for everybody, it has to be fair. It's not for the rich or the poor. If a big man sprays, the person should be invited. If a poor man sprays, the person should be invited. I think it's a fair argument. So the EFCC got a lot of flack for that, and this is a challenge to the EFCC to go after Tompolo. Let's find out what you're saying. Isi said Tompolo spraying Naira, EFCC, that's AI generated. So, for context, when they see Tompolo spraying, they say the EFCC will say it's AI generated.
Could be AI generated.
The person was very emphatic.
Yeah.
No, that is not. That's not. That is what the person
No,
said.
I'm saying the EFCC chairman in his response then said, oh, well, we don't know. It could have been AI generated in that sense. And people are saying it's convenient to say it could have been AI generated, which is what gave birth to this statement.
Okay. But we never got a denial from the camp of, the chairman of Tantita Security Services.
But to be fair, he wasn't spraying the Naira.
But they said, yes, he was. They were spraying him the money.
He was being sprayed.
He was being sprayed.
And he was walking through.
They chose to say they will invite him.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the point. They didn't say they will invite the sprayer. Is it the spray?
Exactly.
They invite the spray.
Because he was on the receiving end.
Since you've said so, I know they were asking him the question about Tompolo, and he said, well, these days you have to subject it to examination, investigation. People are saying, oh, now you got to Tompolo, grammar has entered. Oh, really?
Okay, so let's take this one from Dr. Farouk, who says, but if person gets plenty money like some people, we all know who. Well, what's your own interpretation of this, guys?
I just keep seeing that meerkat. The fact that this animal has suffered a lot in the hands of social media. But I think it's high time the EFCC just tackle this once and for all. I think it's clearly a messy situation. And if we talk about building trusts, institutions, building trust, these are the things people look at, okay?
That gives the optics.
Yeah, so tackle it. And be honest, if do you remember that the EFCC had this jingle that used to say, nobody day above the law? That was a popular jingle that the EFCC had then. I think it was during Obasanjo's time. And that was the messaging. Nobody is above the law. Has that changed now? If it has changed, come out and tell us, EFCC, so we can help you as a nation. But I think that this should be dealt with decisively.
I'm happy
to build trust.
I respect what the chairman is doing, but I'm happy they are being dragged. Because it always feels like when is a high and mighty, the laws are changing. That is what happens in Nigeria. Unfortunately, when it's a high and mighty, all of a sudden there is so many simple things get complicated when it's those that have the war chest. So this means that EFCC, the reason why we're saying this, that if you invite somebody else, an ordinary citizen tomorrow, and it doesn't honor your invitation, he references this, you may lose in court. Okay, let's even leave the law, just out of morality. It just gives you a high moral responsibility to go after Tompolo, ask him the questions. At least let's see something being done.
You know what?
Even if you could argue that he was being sprayed, it was the sprayee, not the sprayer. What about the circumstances there? Who is the sprayer that should be brought to book? Is he an associate of Tompolo that is too highly placed up there that should not be held accountable? These are the questions that Nigerians will continue to ask as far as the law is concerned. If the EFCC would have us understand that no one is above the law, then why is there continuously a disconnect between the letter and spirit of the law?
Absolutely.
These issues are very
apparently,
important.
as it stands now, it looks like some people are above the law. EFCC, please, we're building an institution. Help us to make sure that that doesn't happen in the next few days. Let's see something. I think the last one,
speaking of those, well, not above the law, the House of Reps is asking for a budget breakdown of 1.48 trillion naira Rivers budget from the sole administrator, querying 24 billion naira for CCTV cameras. You see Emperor for Bo saying that this is laudable. The budget itself, compared to others, is quite humongous. It should practically translate into better development strides for Rivers people. 24 billion naira for CCTVs? This user says it's very outrageous. So yes, we must indeed look into those books.
And indeed, is it another 27 billion naira for the purchase of gunboats as well? Gunboats? CCTV, 24 billion naira? How much would it cost to build a primary healthcare center in one of those communities in River State?
A fraction of that.
I doubt that it would be up to 24 billion naira, but clearly these issues must be interrogated. The expenditure of the Rivers Appropriation Bill must be favorable to the people of Rivers. It is their own resources. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So Thanks to the reps. Let's get the work done. That's it on the program. Thanks for your time and company. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. Bye-bye.
We'll be back again tomorrow. I am Bukola Koka.
And I'm Kayode Kikilu. Sunrise Daily is next. I see Malwell looking beautiful this morning, so you don't want to miss the show. See you.